everybody doing today? I am doing great. Behind me here, I have my FJ40 tub that we got freshly painted in the last video. If you missed that one, definitely a must see. I'll link it up in the corner for you guys. So now that that is done, we have a ton more work to do on everything else for this thing. We got the hood, doors, we got front doors, the rear like hatch thing, front fenders, the core support, a ton more stuff that we got to get in paint. So that is what we got on today's agenda. Now, most of this stuff I already went through and patched all the holes in, fixed all the rust, but there is still a little bit of body work that we got to do. We got to do some sandblasting to get rid of, you know, the surface rust and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go ahead and blast everything just because, you know, I've heard of these stories of sandblasting and just warping the crap out of body panels. These body panels are very hard to find in decent shape. So I'm just gonna sandblast the stuff that really needs it, you know, down deep where I can't like get a sand or where there's rust, or, you know, I'll just do a really light sandblast on some of that stuff. The rest of it, we're just gonna go through and sand. So here's the pile of goods. Like I said, doors, hood, fenders, the sides for the back for the roof, the windshield also, stuff like this. I'm gonna sandblast. I mean, you're not really gonna warp something like that, but if you go through and blast, you know, super close on like the fender, I think you'll probably warp it. Now I do want to do the underside because there is some rust on it. You can see there, I do want to do a light sandblast on that. So I'm hoping we can get that figured out, but all this other stuff, I don't know, like these door frames are probably gonna be just fine to sandblast, but we'll figure all that out as we go. So first things first, I guess, let's do the easy parts. These two little things for the fenders, those are gonna fit in my sandblast cabinet. So let's get those in the blaster, get those done, and then we will just start picking pieces and getting it ready for paint. Well, we got a little carried away with sandblasting. I ended up doing everything just because this paint was so thin. It came off so easy. So we got everything done. What we're gonna do now is I gotta get that out of here. We're gonna set up everything that we need to do body work on. So that will be the hood, the fenders, the doors need just a little bit, so I'll do that. Core support, all that stuff should be good. And then these sides, I think one side, I'll probably just prime both of them. But the reason I'm doing that, the stuff I want to do body work on, I'm actually going out of town for a couple days, so it'll give it enough time to cure up so we can throw body filler on that once we get back. The stuff like the core support and everything that doesn't need body work, when I go and seal all this stuff, at the same time I can just epoxy that and then go straight into paint since we don't need body work. So that's kind of the game plan. We need to get this stuff in primer, let it cure up for, I don't know, they say 24 hours before you want to throw any body filler on. So yeah, that's kind of the game plan. Well, we are not as close as I thought. Some of this stuff ended up really good. Rear doors are good. These little fender pieces are really good. There's a couple little imperfections in the hood. There's a low spot right here, and then you can see there's two high spots right there. I want to get those figured out just because we are at this stage. Another thing that I didn't notice before, but now that I was actually staring at this thing, you can see all the spot welds, which is very, I mean, it's super shallow. Like, I'm just gonna do a little bit of a skim over those on both sides there. That, and then other than that, we're looking pretty good. So I figure instead of just trying to spray some of this out in color and then go back through and do more body work, I'm just gonna get it all figured out right now. Well, we got all this primer down, looking much better. The bottom of these doors actually had those spot welds that you could see too. So we filled all those in. We filled all these in. This thing looks so much better than it did. A couple little things on the hood. Like I said, there were spot welds in the back of the hood as well that you could see. So we got all that figured out. We're gonna let this primer kind of set up as long as we can before we sand it, just so it can shrink back. You don't want to sand it too soon because then it can shrink after you top coat it and all the sand scratches will come out. So we're good with that. What we're gonna do now is get all of this stuff ready to go. This stuff doesn't need any body work, so we should just be able to epoxy and go straight into paint. And I just want to spray that out. We'll move that out of the shop, be done with it. Also, you guys have been missing the fenders, I'm sure. These need a little bit more work. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna get those sprayed out today. While that's drying up, I'm gonna work on these. There's just, I mean, there was so much body work and welding and cutting we did with these fenders. They're gonna need a little bit more time. So that's a game plan. Let's get all this stuff out of here, get it covered up, get this stuff out, and get it sprayed out in color. Well, I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but we got the doors and the sides ready to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to seal and spray those out with color, and then the hood and fenders are going to have to wait just because we just sprayed this primer. I actually found some other small spots, just little tiny more spot welds down there that you could see. So I got all that figured out, and these fenders are looking actually pretty stinking good for how mangled up they were. So we're gonna give those another day to fully cure all the primer on there, just to make sure all that shrinks back before we go through and sand it. So let's get these sprayed out with a coat of reduced epoxy. What the sealer does is it just gives it a nice solid color to spray your actual color over. Plus you got little burn throughs here and there. You don't want to paint over that. You want to use some sort of primer. So that's what we're doing. Seal it and then go to our paint, probably 2-3 coats of paint, and let that cure up, and then we'll jump on this stuff. Well, look at that, guys. We are finally done painting. Well, actually, we got a couple other things. We didn't do the grill right there. I still got a ton of work to do on that, but everything else, other than the little tiny stuff like the hinges, we are looking really good. Like I said, I didn't go for perfection. There's a couple of imperfections here and there. This fender right here, the good thing, it's all hidden. This is all inside and out of the way. You're not going to see all that, but this thing was so mangled up. I mean, this whole inside here was just all everywhere. It was just so messed up. We got it straight enough, and like I said, that's all hidden, so I'm not worried about that. So basically that piece of that fender right there bolts onto these bolts here. So everything outside of that you actually see, I got nice and straight. But other than that, really, that's the worst of it. Everything else looks, I'd say, almost perfect, if not really close to perfect. So either way, I'm happy with it. I love this color. I know it's kind of hard to tell. Oh yeah, you can see the metallic in it. When you get it in the sun, it looks so good. It brightens up. It is a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be, but like I said, when you bring it outside, get it in the sun, it looks really good. Well, that was a lot of work. That was about 3 weeks to do all this stuff. Now, I did have a lot of rust to fix. I did have a bunch of, I sandblasted everything, so that took some time. And then just, I mean, it's a 71. This thing was far from straight. I feel like for the amount of time we spent on it, we did pretty good. I mean, I could have spent way more time on it and got everything perfect, but like I said, I am not going for perfect on this thing. I don't want this paint so nice that you don't even want to go out and have fun with it. I want to be able to bring it out, have some fun with it, and not worry about, you know, scratching it just because you put, you know, a couple $1,000 in 2 months into a paint job. We got 3 weeks into it. Other than this, we have the tub. The tub's already done. Like I said, you guys saw that in the previous video. We have the grill, all the hinges, and then just a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff, but that's all gonna get powder coat. As far as paint work for this gray color, we're done. And check this out. I sprayed 1.5 gallons. I bought 1.5 gallons of this paint. This is how much I have left. There's like a 1/2 inch in the bottom of this quart. We got really close. I don't know how I guessed so close. Like I said, 1.5 gallons plus the hardener, which that puts us at like 2.5 gallons. And then I did reduce it a little bit too. So 2.5 gallons, and you know, we have that much left. We did pretty good. Now I had to do inside and out of everything. So, I mean, obviously this is going to take way more paint than your average paint job, just because you're not doing the inside, the outside of the doors, the rear sides up there, the hood. I mean, everything is painted. So that's what took so much material. Well guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Next, I haven't decided yet. I kind of want to bring the chassis back in, bring the tub in, get that tub sitting on the chassis, start putting body panels together. On one hand, I want to do that. On the other hand, I kind of want to go ahead and do all my powder coating, because we need all of our hinges, we need all that stuff to put this thing together. So I don't know, we'll probably end up just doing all the hinges and everything first, get everything knocked out. That way we can just go ahead, put everything together, and have, I don't know, have this thing together. I am so excited to see. It's gonna look so much different than the red it had. I mean, I'm not even gonna recognize this thing when it's back together. I'm so excited to see what it's gonna look like. But either way, guys, I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed this one. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.